needs to be shared with others using all the tools at our disposal. So now we know we have self-edit, self-publishing with Amazon. There's other ways you can do that, but that seems to be the simplest. When you say that's the simplest way now, print on demand.
Yeah.
Very simple. The first time when we published Craving More, this has already been done by Amazon, right? Is this done by Amazon?
Yeah, it looks like this one.
Okay. So,
Wow.
Is that cover number 3 or cover number 2?
This was cover number 2.
Yeah.
There was only 2, so that's yeah, there was only 2.
but this one wasn't done by Alphabet, right?
Yes.
This one was?
Yeah, we just went through a printer.
So we went through the printer, this big long process. It cost us like, I think it was over $1,000. It was crazy money. It was crazy money
Wow.
for this. And now Michelle can print this for what?
$2.15.
A piece. $2.50. Now, she doesn't charge that, she's gonna charge more
Of course.
for her work,
Yeah, of
but
course.
that is so much different cost.
And they get a direct
Amazon.
deposit paycheck at the end of every one.
Print on demand, that's what it is.
Oh,
It's
you
a
see?
ma- This was a headache. This was a headache. Michelle did most of the headache. I just sat back and went, well, this is a headache.
Oh, I heard because it was the lining up and the formatting because of
I
that
didn't do
book
that at all.
style.
So one of the things about this, going through the printer the way we did, is it had to, oh my goodness, when you think about your piece of paper, okay, you had to think about your piece of paper front and back. So for like the first, like the page 3 also has page
42.
like 26 on the other side, and then it has page 4 and 25. Like, so when you're working in Word and you're laying out your book, you have to think about all of that. The beauty for this is you have the template for the size, and you just go right down in order. And it was like a gift from God that I did not have to lay it out this way, because this took printing multiple, like hundreds of times to get the pages in the correct order. Whereas with this, there's no need for all of that. It's just, you just go straight through in order, just straight through. There's no having to do layout and all of those things. It's not necessary.
So with that tool, it makes it so much easier. So the way we worked it in the past is if you have a major project that, first of all, it's been approved, it's gone through me, and it will go, like Michelle's work, we won't go into a lot of that, but there's funding available to support projects that align with our goals as our ladies ministry, but as a church. So don't let that ever be a hesitation. Because we want you to be published. We want you to get that information out to other people. So don't let that ever be a hesitation. So publishing, share with others, and also feedback. Ask the people, as painful as it may be, good or bad, ask them what they thought of your work. It could be a survey, it could be face-to-face, and ask for them for honest information so that it'll be feedback for you, so that you can grow and get better, and then your next one you'll be better and better. So
Don't ask someone who you know, like I know, to not ask my mother. I
Okay.
hope she doesn't want to. I know to not ask my mom, because when she gives me feedback, it makes me angry.
Oh.
I take it very, because it's my mother,
Right.
and so I take immediately as my mom being critical, even though I've asked. So I know that there are certain people in my life that I cannot ask for their feedback. I do not want their feedback. Like, I need to go to people who are not as, maybe not as, they can be close to me, but not as close. You know how you respond to people. You know how you respond to people. And some people just may not be the right person to ask for feedback. When I did Holy Mess, I chose, like, I was sort of strategic in choosing who I wanted to read it. I asked them, one, if they had time, and two, like, if they would be willing to give me some honest thoughts on what they were reading. So I tried to choose a variety of people who I felt would be honest with me. but that I wouldn't take it personal. That I would take it for what it was. And so you have to know who that person is for you, that you cannot, like, I would take it too personal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I would take it far too
Wow.
personal.
So pick that
Don't
person
think less of me because I can't let my mom edit this.
and then use it to improve.
Right.
That's the whole goal.
Okay, so I have a question. And I don't really know how to ask this, but it's just a thought that's been in my head. When you write something, if you have a topic, okay, like my forte, my topics that I want to write about is marriage and motherhood, and I know that. And I've known that for a long time. So what if you give your stuff to someone, and maybe this is where you need to have discernment. What if you give that to someone for them to edit or to read and review and whatever, and they don't agree with the things that you've said or the things that you're writing?
Okay, an editor or someone, like when Michelle asked me for her work, I wasn't placing judgment on her content. So it's not content. They don't have your heart. God gave the heart to you to write. The person that you want, you're not asking feedback on, did you agree with my book? You're asking them about mechanics.
Okay.
How did it flow properly?
Right.
'Cause nobody's going to agree with you probably 100%
Right.
on what you said in the book.
Right.
That's not what you're asking them for. I didn't ask.
But if you're asking for someone to read it for like clarity, and you want honest feedback, then you need to go to people you know would likely read it and for the most part be in agreement with you.
Right.
Like,
Well, and I think because anything that you write about, obviously you need to pray about. And whatever, I mean, this is how I feel, whatever is coming out of here should be God inspired, should be biblical. So, but I know, and the word that keeps coming to my head is submission. So when I write about submission and marriage, there's gonna be people who read that who are like, I am not doing that.
and
You know what
that's
I mean?
why, and I think this is a good place to do critics, your criticism. People will always be a critic. You dealt with me this week on critics. There will always be someone who will be a critic of whatever you have to say. That's why it's so important, number one, that you have biblical resource to back it up, that you can show where God's word says it,
Right.
that you know why you're saying what you're saying, and that you have the resources for it. That's why studying is so important.
Right.
There's always going to be somebody when you get into topics like that that won't agree with you or that will push back.
Right.
And there will always be that way. But as long as you know that you are doctrinally sound,
Right.
and that you have the work to back it up, and that you have the scripture to back it up, then sometimes you just have to leave it where it is.
Thick
And
skin.
say thank
You're
you
thick.
for editing.
Right.
But that, you would choose, you would have discernment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You wouldn't have somebody in the
Yeah.
world, a secular
Yeah.
publisher
Right.
or editor edit a Christian work.
Right.
You wouldn't.
You would just have to choose wisely who you would have give you that sort of feedback, and then you just know, okay, maybe this person probably isn't the best person to read this. They wouldn't give me honest thoughts and opinions.
Especially they've got a bad marriage, then they really don't know anything about
Right.
submission.
And when you're asking for feedback, it's not necessarily from your audience. It can be from your audience, sort of, but like it depends on the topic that you have. You're not going to want to give your piece to someone where you know, yes, they may need to read this, but this is going to step all over their toes, because then they're going to hate it. It's
Right.
just, so you want someone that you trust, that has your heart interest in mind, to read it and give you that feedback.
So, very important. Now, we're gonna do some basics, we're gonna run through some basics. Do y'all see this cartoon?
That's cute.
I know you're with the grammar police, but who's this guy? He's the corrections officer. Okay, now, when I say the word grammar, you know, what may come to your mind? Usually it's groaning and gnashing of teeth. But,
The sentence down the
But
bottom,
I
you're
know,
gonna
I
love
was-
it.
Well, I read it and I was like, she spelled that wrong. And then I was like, oh, it's supposed to be that way.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah, that's.
You
I
get
said,
it.
she spelled that wrong and
It's
that's
the wrong
That's the
your.
wrong one.
It sure is. People do it all the time though.
At first I was like, oh my God. I do the wrong your all
They
the
do it all
time.
the
I
time?
will own it,
Oh,
I
okay.
will own it, I am learning, I have gotten
Okay.
There is
better.
a meme, and I need to find it, that uses the theirs and the
I saw that
yours
too. I saw
and
that.
something
I still
else all
find
together,
If you
and
want a
it's
funny on the
hilarious.
Wow.
yours, if you want a funny on the yours, ask Julie to text it to you because it got passed around our house from Rick to Jeremy.
Well, and
It's
Jeff,
highly inappropriate, but extraordinarily
Jeff
funny.
just read me one a couple of days ago that said, it said something like either punctuation is your friend or a comma is your friend. Because it was a sentence that needed one comma.
It's, let's eat, mama.
Yes, yes, and it was like,
Let's say mama. Okay, so,
Those are funny.
okay, so in reality, instead of gnashing of teeth, grammar, a grasp of grammar indicates that you have a solid working knowledge of your language and its usage, as well as the ability to use syntax rules to communicate clearly and understandably. The grammar is important. Okay, I love this one too. This is, how many did diagramming in school?
still doing it.
I love diagramming.
Never did that in school. I went to Charlotte Mecklenburg.
Don't do the King James Bible. Don't.
Now, I love the teaching caption. It says, no, see, putty tat is the direct object and taw is the verb. I love that. So, sometimes we feel like Tweety Bird, like, what? What good is this? But diagramming illustrates how our English language is structured. Now, why would I have this in here? Okay, why would I have this in here? I want to show you something. When you're diagramming, it's giving you like an outline, gives you structure for your paper. Diagram gives you structure for your sentence. So, diagramming is important. I want to look at this real quick. Every sentence has to have a subject and a predicate. I know we're basics, just bear with me. It has to have a subject, who or what. It has to have a predicate. The subject does or is what. If you have a subject and you have a predicate that gives a complete thought, that is a sentence. The sentence is the foundational part of the English language, of writing, is the sentence. So you have to make sure that your sentence has a subject and a predicate. So that's why I wanted to make sure that every sentence that you write, and some of them can be, you have a lot to say, they get big. Just make sure that you can identify that you have a subject and a predicate. So diagramming in that sense is very important. A sentence is The study of grammar begins with a simple sentence. The sentence is a basic unit of language and is essential to every form of communication. A sentence is a group of words that express one single thought. It can be divided into two parts, subject and predicate. So make sure that you can identify that in your sentences. Now, you want to make sure that you have sentences that work together to create something. The next form after a sentence, you build towards a paragraph. And I put this in here, I thought it was kind of cool. This is just a simple, easy way, and you can remember it, of how to do a paragraph. The hamburger paragraph is a writing, this is an organizer. It kind of gives you a visual for what you're doing. It outlines the key components of a paragraph. We have a topic sentence, we have the details or the supporting sentences, and we have the conclusion. That is the formula for a strong paragraph. The topic sentence. It determine what your topic is, and then what you want to say about the topic. So let's say love, or let's use bread. I like bread. Bread, that's a topic, very big. Now, you have to say, what do you want to say about bread? What is it that you want to say about bread? You're talking about the different kinds? Are you talking about how to make it? Are you talking about how quick it goes bad? I mean, what do you want to say? Bread's healthy, bread's unhealthy. Figure out your major topic, then your controlling idea. And a lot of times, we'll get into that in a minute, we call it something else. But then you have to have supporting sentences that give details to your topic sentence. It backs up what you've said. That's all a paragraph part is. Then you have a conclusion that links the sentences, concluding sentences link one paragraph to the next, and they provide another device for making sure that your whole paragraph is unified. So you have to have a beginning, and you have to have an ending. Sometimes this right here is not necessarily, this is why I think blah, blah, blah. It's more of a transition. It kind of sums up that one and it transitions to the next one. So those are paragraphs. Now that you know how to construct a solid and understandable and compelling paragraph, I'm sure you want to tackle the next level of writing, which is the 5-paragraph essay. Has anybody never heard of 5-paragraph? Oh.
I don't see a slide.
Oh. Hold on a
Oh,
second.
wait, yes I do. No, I don't. Essay writing.
It was out of, I think I got out of order.
Essay writing.
Okay.
SpongeBob.
Now, when you start writing a 5-paragraph essay, it's a very powerful tool, but it's like your basic tool. Like anything else, you kind of learn it and then you move on. And you get more complex and you get bigger. But I thought we'd peek in on an old friend and see about his process for 5-paragraph essay. Did I just push it?
Yeah, you should. Is it working?
How do I go back? Don't I click something? It'll do it whenever it says, maybe do show taskbar. Can you go back to slideshow? I'll get out of this. Playback.
I'm super impressed with it.
Cause it took me like forever.
Okay, Mr. Essay, I say, prepare to be written. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Yes! Now let's see how it looks so far.
Break time. Okay.
Oh, goodness. I wrote one word. I thought. Yeah, sounds good. That's funny.
Okay, so some of us are like SpongeBob. We can get the first part and then like, okay, it's time to take a break. That was too much work. The 5-paragraph essay has 5 paragraphs. And y'all know this, we'll just review it real quick. And they each have their own function. The introductory paragraph, according to Jordan Whitehouse of penandpad.com, the introductory paragraph should begin by telling the reader specifically what topic your essay is addressing. Again, the whole topic. Near the end of your introduction should be a thesis statement. Okay, a thesis. Let's go over this. what a thesis statement does. So you have your topic, you have bread. It describes your topic, what your essay will be about. A thesis introduces a specific claim you are making about your topic. Bread is healthy. It describes 3 ways in which you will support and develop your claim. So here's your equation. You have your subject or your thought, your controlling idea. Your subject, your claim. Bread is healthy because 3 points. It is blah, blah, and blah. That's your thesis. That's what you're writing about. Then, let's see. You have your body. So you have your first paragraph that introduces your thesis and what you're claiming about this topic. Then each paragraph, you have 3 paragraphs, and guess what those 3 paragraphs are about?
The blah, blah, and blah.
The blah, blah, and blah. The first blah is the most powerful argument about bread being healthy. The second is the second most strongest. And then the third one is the weakest arguments that you have. Then you have your concluding paragraph. In your concluding paragraph, you're restating your thesis, but in a little bit varied way. You're going to summarize your 3 main points again, and then your final sentence here should be, it should clearly end the essay, including an application of your argument. Maybe you want them to do something, or whatever. Or give them a compelling idea to think about. That is an essay. Y'all have done it before. I don't know if anybody in senior English, we had to write one of these every Friday. We had to turn one the whole term. Every Friday we had to turn in an essay. Every Friday.
Yep.
So, essays are powerful tools. Practice. All it is structure. It's structure. It's a good beginning to really follow a method. There are 4 types. There are many more. These are the 4 major ones. You have the narrative, descriptive, expository, and persuasive. Distinguishing between the different types of essays is simply a matter of determining your goal, which one you're going to use. So, do you want to tell about a personal experience? Do you want to describe something? Do you want to explain an issue? Do you want to convince the reader? Each one of these, if you know what you're going to do, then you'll know which one to pick. And then the method is pretty cut and dry after that. For each one of these, you would need to, there's a method of what you ask, how you describe, how it goes through a process. I'm going to try to, I did not print that out, but I think I will print that out for you, just so you'll have it. I would say, I don't know if Michelle agrees or not, but most of the time Christian writers, they're trying to persuade. I mean, they're going to do some descriptive, but 9 times out of 10, almost all the Bible says, they're trying to persuade you to listen to what I'm saying. I'm trying to help you. So you might do a lot of persuasion writing. Or you could do some expository, you're explaining like a scripture or something. And sometimes you might kind of mesh together.
I think you do it. I think depending on what you're writing, you probably will do all 4 in one piece.
Right, you're going to have different components. But an essay, just a plain old essay, 5 paragraph essay, you'll pick one thing.
Right.
But the larger you get, the more experience, then it'll be bigger. Now, the power of an outline. An outline is a visual representation of your writing project and keeps your work on task and focused on the thesis. Focus on the
What was
thesis.
that first line? That's all.
Representation. An outline is a visual representation of your work. Keeps you focused on the thesis. There are several types of outlines, alphanumeric. These are all on your Word document. You have alphanumeric, it's like 1, Roman numeral 1, then it's what? Capital A, and it's little a, whatever.
And if you're using Word, it'll fill it in
It'll
for
be
you.
all, yeah, it's perfect.
And you may have, I have a stockpile of outlines of, I have, they may be ideas, but I think you know when it's the right time or not to work on a project. So, I have a stockpile of outlines. So I would say if you are working through something Like, for example, I studied Lamentations like 2 years ago, like really studied, and I was like, man, I can see the outline. And so I just did the outline of a Lamentation study. I mean, it's like 3 or 4 pages. I just wrote through it. I have never written a study off of it. So it's just something in my fodder file for later. So you may have, I think that's something too, you can really use an outline on anything and hold on to it. It may not be the right time to use it necessarily, but if it's something you're studying or working through and you can create an outline, then I would say have it and hold on to it.
There's also the decimal. I don't like decimals like 1.1, 1.2. Some people may like that, or that kind. And the sentence. So pick the one, the thing is pick one and stay consistent with it. As we wrap this up, I want to share with you some common mistakes. Grammarly asked their social media which writing error they felt had the most negative influence on someone's writing. And I want to see if you agree. It was incorrect verb form. No, that's agreement. That's what that's talking about. Agreement. Like saying it's hard for me to say it. Like, I wish we was going.
Yeah.
And or instead of I wish we had went. It's
Yeah.
agreement. That's a big one.
Or what had happened. I mean, it's a joke, but we
Yeah.
know that's incorrect.
Yeah.
Right. And then here's agreement. And then verb forms. Thank you, Trish. It's have, gone, have, has. You know what I'm saying? You got a helping verb in there, making sure they have an agreement and they're correct. Instead of I seen the dog
Yeah,
run
yeah.
across, I saw the dog.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
I can't.
She
doesn't got
it's almost hard to say it, but you can hear it.
She done went and I fought her fire.
Run-on sentences, comma splices, pronoun antecedent disagreement, and it just keeps on going. So that may or may not be your thing.
What is a pronoun antecedent disagreement?
Your antecedent, like saying, he went to the bathroom whenever maybe they're referring to she. The antecedent is Carol, but they use he. That's not agreement. The antecedent is who you're talking
I
about.
like that.
Oh.
This is why I just write the
Instead of saying
words
something
of
about his
Julia that
church.
it's words.
They're saying there's agreement, but I don't see most people doing that kind of agreements. I don't think
That's almost a typing error, because
Yeah,
like
that's
you
what
forget to
I'm
do the
saying.
S when
a
you're,
typo,
when you're
yeah.
typing or something
Yeah,
more than
right.
anything.
That's-
It still happens.
capitalization and all. And then I wanted to show you this right here. These are common, very common. It's and it. This is, for me, this is the hardest one for me, is it's and it's.
Really?
Because in your mind, you're thinking possession.
Yeah.
It's not possession. This is the contraction.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
so hard. This one, I miss
Use
it on
it
every time.
is, and it'll help you every time.
Exactly, but this, yeah, so ITS is the possessive pronoun. That's how you write it. IT apostrophe is the contraction. It
The
is.
English language was created by a man.
I think so too.
It is the hardest
Most
to
people never
learn.
have part of it.
Kinda like
Affect
car
and
seats.
effect, those are difficult.
Yes.
I have
Effect is a
problem with those.
noun. What was
I do too.
the effect of the radiation? or
Or the
whatever?
action, A for effect, A is the action.
Affect.
That's a good way to remember that.
You can say, I was affected by the effect.
Right, right.
That's a hard one, that's a hard one. Here and here, most people don't say gone and went, past participle of go. That that can be a little confusing, but most times if you read it out loud, you catch it. You're thinking, that just doesn't sound good. Then and dan, I don't see that a lot. This one's big, well, not too big. Were and we're.
Yeah.
Again, a
We're
contraction.
going, the contraction, we are. This is were. We were at the store. Okay. 2 and 2, this is big.
Yes.
2 is a verb, preposition. 2 is a preposition. TOO is also. Think of it like a double O. I also want another scooping of
Yes.
ice cream. I also. Your and your, this one, of all of them, this one is the hugest one. And I tell my girls all the time, I'm like, listen, if you see this right here, It is 2 words.
Yes,
2 words. You are your.
yes,
This is possession. Your pencil.
yes.
It's very hard.
It's not
You
your.
see it all the time. You see it in
Your.
papers. You see it on the internet all the time. I think I saw it on a sign one time. I'm like, bless them. So just remember that. If you're ever writing the word your, stop and say, am I saying you are, or am I saying possession? So you won't be embarrassed. That's easy. That's so easy. Oh, so easy. Then who's and whose.
I don't like that one.
Who is
Yeah.
and
I can
whose
never
is
remember that one.
I cannot believe that there is not on there.
Yeah, THEIR, yeah.
there, and there.
Whose socks?
Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
Who is?
There,
And I
there,
will
there.
tell you this, something I've noticed, it's terrible. When I am switching, well, actually, when I'm changing the channels and on 18.3, I believe that's Me TV, someone, I don't know who they've got running, whatever, but they have the Jeffersons, JEFFERSON apostrophe S. That is, I'm like, this is going on public television. And it's been like that for the past several months, and I said, no, that should just be just plural. It's the Jeffersons. Who's doing this?
Excuse me.
I wish I could.
I just took a class.
But it used to be that way, because when I'm like,
That's hilarious.
And you catch it, you
Yeah.
catch it. The more you're doing it, the more you start catching it. But if you ever have a question, or if you have a big, you can Google it now and it'll tell you exactly what it's.
oh my Lord. So
So anyway, and then concluding, we want you to have opportunities to write. We want you to use your opportunities to bless other women. That's the whole purpose of what we're doing, why we're investing in you. And it could be traditional methods, the written word. It could be a newsletter, something you hold in your hand. More than likely, it'll be internet for a lot of people, writing blog posts. You may start your own website. You may write something for, if we start up a newsletter again, Dean even wanted to do like an e-newsletter for the church. I don't know how far that's gone, but there'll be opportunities. So don't ever worry about it. You can create your own things, like Michelle did. You could create your own thing.
And there's so many people that you can write for too.
Good point.
Like, you know, we have the Thrive blog now that we've just used old articles for that we've had over the years. Like even for me, like if you want to get your feet wet and write for me, write for me. That saves me a week of having to write something, so write for me. So there's plenty of places that you can get your feet wet writing for, seeing what response you get, and that sort of thing. So there's a plethora of opportunities out there. We should have, we talked about the market guide. If there's something specific, if you have something specific that you would like to test the waters with, if you would like to write for and you want to write for me, give me something and I'll put it up for you, and I'll put it on Displaying Grace for you. Or if you have something very specific, you know there's like a certain topic that you want to write about, and you're looking maybe for somewhere to submit it, let me know and I will help you find somewhere. Like I have the lists of all the things, and I can help you get it wherever you want it to go.
Good. So, I wanted to thank y'all for, I know grammar's it's not the best. And this is not my strength. My creative writing is not my strength because I'm not a creative person. But I like to see work go out that tells the truth, that is interesting, and is accurate. I love that. So, this writing is not, what does that mean?
It's just your computer making.
Oh, okay. So you may know, I'm never gonna write a book. But if you write a speech, you'll have to write. Some of you are speakers, you know you're gonna speak. I'm not writing a book.
Yeah, no.
But at some point, sometimes you have to have a book to have something to speak about. Does that make sense? So it's important, and I encourage you to just get in there and just try it, and you'll be working on your project. When you finish the class, you will have something to say to somebody. So we want you to be able to have something you put in your hand or on the internet, or have something to say with a podcast of what you've done. So I want you to know that, I want you to dream. Some of you already have experience. Julie's she already does this. multiple times. Michelle does it.
But I didn't know how. I did it.
So I want you to dream big is what I'm saying. Dream big. There's people that want to help you succeed. So, and we're gonna make mistakes, good grief. Right? We all make mistakes.
Can I tell my story? You might make them feel better about their life. No, when I say like, there's always something, and there will always be flaws, and we may not get all things right. Somebody left a very interesting review on Advent on Amazon. Jessica gave him a new name for all his glorious information. And a lot of what he said was version discrepancies or spelling discrepancies. He said my book was filled with typos and biblical error. So just know, and I knew putting it out on Amazon and stepping outside of here it's a risk. It's a risk worth taking. I won't lie, I cried a lot. I was very upset. I felt really sick. I immediately texted Julie. I don't even know what time it was in the morning, but I immediately texted her. And, I think after going back through and doing my own due diligence, yes, there were typos or whatever. It happens. It's a part of life. It's a part of our flaws. But there was in my, I guess for me, this is why it's so vitally important that we know why we do what we do, that we have we've done our homework, we've done the studying, and we've done our due diligence, so that when someone comes at us in such a way that we know that we've done right by God and that we've done what we're supposed to do, it's their opinion and it's their thoughts, there will always be a critic. There will always be a critic. This is my first experience with someone outside the walls that has thoughts, and I'm taking it with a strong grain of salt after some of the other books that he's reviewed. But, I think it's just stepping back and being reminded, okay, I needed to be reminded why I do what I do. Like just in all transparency, when we left Central, I made the comment to Jeremy, like, what if they are the only ones that loved me? Like, what if they are the only ones that loved my writing? What if they just said it was good because they love me? What if it's not really good? Like, so I think you wrestle with those sorts of things because this is a very comfortable place, and people are very supportive here, and everyone has always championed the ministry that I've done and that God put on my heart. And so it was a very good reminder for me that I am human. I am not perfect. And that's why the editing process is really important. And you also have to be reminded of why. Why am I doing this? Why am I writing books? Why am I spending all this time doing these things just for someone to criticize what I've done? But then at the end of the day, I have to remember that it's in God's hands. That this is all His. I have to lay it all down, and I have to give it all to Him and let Him handle all the things that He needs to take care of. But the editing process is vital. The study process is vital. Every part of this is important. You can't do one without the other. You have to have the study, you have to have the overflow, you have to have the edit and the process, and you have to walk through it, and it takes time. There will always be somebody who has a thought or an opinion about what you've done, especially as a woman. So it's just something that you have to keep in mind. It will come at some point or another. Someone will hurt your feelings, or it will embarrass you, or whatever it might be. But we pick up, we learn a lesson, and we move on. So that, I think, I told Julia, like writing over here, I think God just needed to give me something to say. Something to say this week. The critics happen. But when you put your work out there, it is your heart. Sometimes you have to separate yourself from it and be reminded that this is not yours. This is not mine. None of this is mine. This is not mine. I can't take any credit for any of this. This is not any of mine. It's all God's. And I have to, it's that same quote from Lisa TerKeurst that says, I have to be obedient and leave everything else up to God. And so I'll be obedient, I'll do what he's asked, and I'll do my due diligence, and I'll do my homework, and I make sure that I've studied and that I know what I'm doing. And then I'll leave the rest to God, and I'll let him handle, I'll leave all consequences to him, like I'll leave it to him. But it's important that you have an editor that you trust, someone who will read your work, and someone who can check your doctrine and your theology, your biblical facts. You have to have someone like that, someone who can take the time to do that, whether it's a pastor that you trust or someone who knows scripture, who can check you and make sure that you've done your due diligence.
And he said his congregation loved it very much.
He said his women were loving it. He's a pastor in Wisconsin.
Oh, so the women love
Consider it
it?
pure
Really?
joy. It's an honor to be criticized. What
He-
Paul tells us, don't
He
be
he
Nothing's
nitpicks
said
me.
and done.
He nitpicks me to death, but at the same time, I always joke that God keeps me humble, and he does. And he keeps me on, because it's easy when you receive praise for what you've done to let it kind of build you up and make you think more of yourself than you should. And so it's nice to have be knocked in your knees a few times and be brought to your knees and be reminded that none of this is about me. It is all about God, and it's all about what he has for us and what he has given us. And it's good. It's good to be reminded, and it's also good to be reminded that writing comes in seasons. I haven't written anything in 3 months. I won't lie. I have written nothing in 3 months. Because it's just the current place that we're in. So writing comes in seasons. Get yourself a good editor. Amen.
Thank y'all for being here, and I wanted so much for somebody else to do this session. You won't believe how hard I tried.
She did. Good work.
But anyway, I have to learn, because I like to deal with the words and stuff that not necessarily always say it. So, thank y'all for being here, and did you guys?
Well, actually, I want to ask a question about home computer, because I think I'm the only one in this crowd that does not have a home computer. Is it necessary that I have one?
People for generations have wrote by hand.
Write it by hand, girl. Write it by
Well,
hand.
I'm just, I'm
hand.
thinking of.
But it's-
I
It
don't
makes it
use my home
easy.
computer. I use my tablet with a wireless
Yeah.
keyboard, which I guess is kind of like a computer, but
You can do it by hand. You can
As
do
she
it by
was
hand.
talking, I was thinking about the old days when I took a legal sheet of paper and I wrote it every other line. So I'd have room to edit myself.
You've heard of Max Lucado, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay. How many books has that man written? Like a
Lots,
bazillion?
lots.
He writes every book by hand, every one.
Okay, so.
All of it.
So it's
So-
not necessary, I mean, well, Chris and I were talking about getting a home computer just because, I was just, yeah.
Can I make a suggestion? If you want to try one out, go to the library.
yeah.
Yeah.
The library keeps like Word, which is a program that helps you do your documents. And you can go, they'll even print it out, maybe for like a dime a page or something. And you can just get the feel for it to see if it's something that you would want. And if you don't feel comfortable, then you can just keep writing.
And if you need it typed, hire someone. Just pay them. Like, there's plenty of people who will do it for very little, who will type out your work for you.
That's
I was
a,
just-
that's a thought as well.
Just kind of just wondering, like I said, we've been talking about it anyways, because I'm thinking if I ever work from home, I would need a computer anyways. That's just, that's
But
the
at this
bottom line.
stage in this process, you want to keep it comfortable. You don't want to add a new element that is unknown or different
Oh, not
for
only
you.
regarding this, I'm talking about
Right,
just.
just in general.
My 9 to 5.
Right.
You know, if you will, that's what we've just been kind of talking about, and someone said, well, now you can't work from home on your phone now, you can't do a laptop, you have to have a desktop. So And Chris said he'd been thinking about it, so.
Now, a laptop can
I
do
use a
everything a
laptop.
desktop does.
You use a laptop?
I use a
Oh, yeah.
laptop.
Yes.
I mean, I have a
And I
desktop.
work from home, and I use a laptop.
It does everything a desktop does, but it's portable.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I like.
And then you can go work at the coffee shop if you want to.
Yeah. And if you want to, my Jeff does computers, so if you have any questions, go straight to him.
Can I say something else before we leave? Michelle asked a question about, what are we gonna be reading next year about our reading stuff? And I just wanted to tell you what this book that I found,